Rivals clash. What if Goku and Vegeta had their final match? Goku has been granted one day to return to Earth from Otherworld, and on that day, as fate would have it, a new world tournament is to be held. Gohan is excited to reunite with his father, but doubts of his own strength cloud his mind. The peace gained from the battles against Cell has changed the world, and the heroes of Earth aren't the same as they were before. Is the way of martial arts still burning in their hearts, or have they found other parts of life to enjoy? But there are two in the universe who will live for nothing more than battle. For the rivals Goku and Vegeta, this would be their last opportunity to settle the score. With nothing to hold them back, these two mighty warriors will decide once and for all which of them is the best. For the first time in over 1,000 years, two Super Saiyan brothers clashed. The historical significance of this sparring match was lost to Gohan and Goten, but they both understood something else.
This is so much fun!
Goten smiled as he shot out a flurry of clumsy yet accurate punches, switching arms and repeating the same move when the other one got tired.
Yeah, it really is. I'd have started training again a lot sooner if I knew you'd be such a good partner, Goten.
So you're gonna stop wasting time with those dusty books and train me instead? Gohan was taken by surprise as the younger Saiyan's power began to increase, the ferocity of his attacks growing in sync with his excitement. The elder brother still had a clear edge, but it was taking more of his concentration than he expected. He had been called a prodigy when he was a child, but that was a joke compared to Goten. The Saiyan wondered what the cost could be. Perhaps being exposed to greater powers around a young age made you stronger, or maybe peacetime was better for harnessing your inner potential, or maybe—
Hey Gohan, your mother says I can stay over tonight to do more training.
Wait, what?
Crack! Gohan was struck directly in the face by Goten's right hook, sending the Elder Saiyan straight into a nearby lake. The sheer force of the impact atomized every single drop of water and left an unconscious Gohan deep in the newly formed crater.
Oh no, he's totally dead! I'm gonna be in so much trouble! He's not dead, you moron! Stop standing around and help me get him out!
At Capsule Corp, the Saiyan Prince Vegeta took a small break from his training to cool off. He felt more energized than he had been in years, his body responding to the drive within him. Kakarot must have fought incredible warriors in the afterlife, pushed beyond anything he was shown before. That idea worried Vegeta, but he shook away his doubt by focusing on what he could control. It didn't matter what warriors Kakarot trained with, as long as Vegeta trained twice as hard, no, 50 times as hard, he would surpass that clown. He had to.
Hey Dad, Goten just dropped by with a message for you.
For me? Well, out with it then, boy. Has something changed with Kakarot returning for the tournament?
I don't know about that, but he says Gohan's not coming anymore. Got hurt during a training or something. Anyway, I'm gonna go get a snack. Want something?
That slacker. I knew he had grown soft, but to be injured by a child! Still, that's no reason to quit. A real warrior would use that as fuel. Trunks, bring me to Goten at once!
He already left, Dad. Anyway, you want something?
Vegeta walked away, stepping back into the gravity room and shutting the door. Trunks noticed that his father seemed more angry than usual about this. The kid didn't realize how much respect the prince had for Gohan. Inside the chamber, Vegeta raised his training program to an even higher level than before. A mistake here now would be fatal, but for the rest of the days leading to the tournament, the warrior didn't make a single one.
Even if I have to carry the pride of the Saiyans alone, I will not allow it to fade away.
The day of the tournament arrived, and everyone gathered to take part. Gohan, still wanting to see his father but unsure of how his decision to quit would be taken by everyone, stood further away from the main crowd. Unfortunately for Gohan, his nerves had gotten the best of him, and he hadn't realized he was standing next to the person he was most concerned about.
So, you quit.
Piccolo?
Your instincts are pathetic if you didn't even notice me. Just how far have you fallen, Gohan?
I know, Piccolo. Losing my focus with Goten was a wake-up call. I hadn't been taking things seriously. After Cell, I just couldn't imagine anyone stronger than me.
Well, you're not alone there, if that helps.
Piccolo gave his pupil a smirk. He was disappointed at first, but there was something different about Gohan now. The look in his eyes, it wasn't quite there yet, but it reminded him of the little boy that decided to stay with him to train instead of returning home. If Gohan could fully recapture that look, then Namekian knew he'd reach even greater heights.
I just know, as I am now, if I entered the same ring as you, Vegeta, Dad, I'd regret it. Oh, really? You're not gonna fight, Gohan?
Everyone turned around in shock at the sound not heard in 7 years. Goku had returned, slightly confused as everyone immediately rushed him in celebration. The conversation with Gohan would have to wait for another time. In this version of events, the junior bracket continued exactly as in canon, with Goten and Trunks making quick work of the competition. But one key difference began to show itself. Goten kept looking towards Gohan in the stands after every victory, then looking to Goku. The boy still didn't know what to make of his father, whom he had only met recently, and with his surprise victory over his big brother, the limits of what he thought he could do were starting to become less and less clear for the young Saiyan. The final match of the junior division was about to begin, with Goten and Trunks facing off. Immediately both fighters exploded forward, racing towards each other at the center of the ring. A shockwave reverberated as their forearms met in a pair of simultaneous blocks. Grunting, Goten broke at the stalemate and threw a punch straight towards his opponent's head, but Trunks expectedly reached up and caught it, following by snapping off a roundhouse kick at Goten's head.
You're really giving this all you got today, Goten.
Goten frowned and gritted his teeth.
I'm not gonna make my big brother look bad.
The entire ring rumbling. Golden lights started pouring out of the center of the ring, growing in intensity with each second. A drop of sweat appeared on Trunks' forehead, rolling down his cheek as he struggled to keep Goten's punches from overwhelming him. He had no idea what had gotten into his friend, nor what was about to be unleashed.
Hey, no fair! No Super Saiyan, remember?
Trunks yelled, but Goten wasn't listening, a smile of confidence forming on his face.
You better transform, Trunks!
The small Saiyan's eyes trembled, amazed at such power, but he wasn't going to lose that easily. If Goten was this serious, then so was he. He was still older and stronger. Goten exploded across the ring in a blinding streak of golden light, pulling a fist back. Trunks transformed as quickly as he could and threw a punch of his own, but the attack was so fast, only Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan could follow it. The smoke cleared, and Vegeta gritted his teeth in frustration. Goten had struck Trunks squarely in the jaw, launching him in a straight line off of the ring and into the ground, unconscious. It was over. He had finally won. The young boy dropped to his knees, panting, and fell out of Super Saiyan. He hadn't realized he could use that much power. Far too much power for him to handle without exhausting himself. Trunks slowly rose to the ring, rubbing his face and scowling. He wanted to give Goten a piece of his mind for cheating like that, but he was also trying to avoid admitting to Goten that he had surpassed him. Before he could yell at his best friend, the World Tournament announcer handed Goten the mic, as the small boy made an announcement to the entire arena.
See, I'm real strong. Just because I got a hit doesn't mean my big brother isn't the coolest around.
Gohan couldn't believe his younger brother. He was embarrassed. Goten had pushed himself that hard for his reputation. It meant that he had no excuses then. He had to be the person Goten believed him to be. Goten saw Gohan in the stands, and the two exchanged a thumbs up. And with that, the boy passed out.
Guess I'll let you have the win. Just this once.
Trunks smiled at his friend until his eyes panned up and met with his father's. Trunks was embarrassed at first, but Vegeta simply nodded at the boy before turning to Goku.
That kid is something, huh?
Your boy was impressive, but don't presume that the battles of children will match ours.
Right, I'm really looking forward to it.
Vegeta kept his composure for a moment, but the loss of Trunks was unexpected. If Kakarot's youngest son had that much power hidden away, then the prince began to worry at just how much his rival could have improved. Videl returned from the punching machine to Gohan, as he waited for the adult division to begin.
So I saw you looking gloomy over here, and I decided. I quit.
Quit? You don't have to do that. I know how hard you worked for this.
It's partly my fault you got beat up, so it's the least I can do.
Gohan gave a solemn smile to the girl, who was obviously still hiding something that he couldn't quite figure out.
Besides, I heard what you said to that Majunior guy, and you're right. I don't think I can beat my dad the way I am now either. So I'll wait a little more, until I know for sure I can surpass him. We'll do it together.
Gohan smiled, turned to a more positive one, fist bumping the feisty fighter, thinking how lucky he was to have a friend like this. Though, he did want to tell her that she was already more than strong enough to be her father. Little did Gohan realize that, with the right motivation, he had the potential to defeat his own. The adult division proceeds, as Krillin easily manages to defeat Pintar, while Piccolo faces off against the mysterious Shin. Shin comments that the tournament seems very interesting. However, upon hearing Shin speak, Piccolo realizes to his horror that Shin is actually the Kaioshin. The Supreme Kai tells him to keep quiet about his presence for now, and explains that he has come to Earth to prevent Babidi from reviving the ancient monster Majin Buu, requesting that Piccolo allies himself with him to defeat the evil wizard. In this version of events, Piccolo's frustration at Gohan not getting to compete allows some more energy to be unsuppressed. Not expecting any other warriors to be at his level, Shin assumes that this display of power makes Piccolo more than enough to assist. Both Shin and Piccolo forfeit their match and leave to discuss more of the Kai's plan alongside Kibito.
Even the Namekian? How dare any of you call yourselves warriors? One after another, you run and refuse to face a true challenge.
Vegeta, that's enough. They all have their reasons.
What about you then, Kakarot? Can I expect you to give up against me before I even throw a single blow? Gohan won't be able to take your place this time.
Goku narrowed his gaze at Vegeta, not taking the comment lightly, and having no patience for whatever tantrum the prince was throwing. Vegeta backs down, not wanting to waste his frustration here. He would set things right in the ring. The prince's power spike hadn't gone unnoticed though, as Yamu and Spopovich's energy monitor shot to its maximum reading. They had no idea who this short guy was, but the energy he was hiding would make their master extremely proud. The fight between Android 18 and Mr. Satan began, as Vegeta saw 18 talk into the champion's ear. He knew where this was going. Not wanting to see yet another competent fighter throw away their pride for worthless reasons, he went to the lower levels of the tournament grounds to begin preparing for his match against Kakarot. However, this time he was not alone.
Should've stayed with your friends, little man.
The two Majins lunged towards Vegeta, actually catching the Saiyan off guard for a second as they couldn't be sensed, but they were still far too slow to actually hit him. Flipping over Spopovich, Vegeta took note of the device they were holding and quickly pieced together what their goal was.
You want my power? Here, have a taste!
Vegeta charged a tiny ki blast and shot it from his fingertips into Spopovich's mouth. Yamu could only watch in horror as a brilliant light began to emerge from within the muscle-bound freak, until he exploded in a burst of energy, destroying the room and leaving nothing but ash.
I'm glad someone else saw the fireworks this time.
Yamu couldn't believe what he was seeing, but had enough sense left in him to fly through the destroyed roof. Vegeta began to charge another attack, smiling at getting to vent his frustrations through this little destruction. But before he could end that human's life, Piccolo caught his hand.
Unhand me!
This is bigger than you know, Vegeta. Follow the Kai and I will explain on the way.
But Vegeta refused to leave. His battle with Kakarot was next, and he'd throw that away for no one. Shin yelled at Piccolo that they didn't have time to waste. If they lost Yamu, they'd never find Babidi. Piccolo let Vegeta go and flew off with the Kai. The prince wondered for a moment if he'd made a mistake. There was an uneasy feeling around the stranger and Piccolo. Perhaps they do need his help. Then, he heard the announcer declare Mr. Satan as the winner of the match, and the next round was about to begin.
Finally we settled things, Kakarot!
You know, you're not the only one who's wanted a rematch, Vegeta.
Suddenly, again, it was silent in the stadium. Everyone knew this was going to be spectacular from the get-go. They didn't want to miss any bit of it. The two Saiyans closed their eyes, took a deep breath in unison, and relaxed. Seconds passed. Not a sound was heard from one side of the grandstands to the other. Then, the slightest whisper of a breeze began to blow. Both Goku and Vegeta were now surrounded by wisps of pure white ki that curved out in tendrils before melting in the rush of wind.
I'd have been crushed.
Goku clenched his fist and widened his stance. Vegeta gave a nod and did the same. Then, the ring began to vibrate, almost humming with the weight of the energy. On the opposite corner of the ring, Goku crouched into his oldest, most familiar turtle fighting stance. The Saiyan prince stood in place, a silent moment. Then, he struck, whipping one arm around, his body only a blur the audience could barely catch sight of. Vegeta launched a powerful ki across the ring, invisible except for the arcs of lightning that trailed behind it. Goku threw one fist out, blocking with his own ki of equal strength, then launched himself off of the ring with enough intensity to leave behind a crater of tiles. Even the fastest eyes in the audience missed the kick that catapulted Vegeta all the way across the tournament stadium in less than half a second. Vegeta twirled whirled in midair just in time, hovering mere meters above the top row of bleachers, and narrowly blocked the punch Goku had waiting for him. After a quick guard, Vegeta immediately countered with his own punch, but the younger Saiyan managed to block it and land another blinding fast kick. The force from this one was even greater, rocketing the prince across the stadium at speeds well beyond light. However, as if he had all the time in the world, Vegeta rolled over in mid-flight and let loose a rapid-fire stream of energy blast as he arced up into the skyline. Chasing after, Goku wove between. A trail of energy flowed out from behind him as the Saiyan expertly circled and spun through and around the barrage. The Earthling's smile never faltered for a second until he finally caught up to his opponent and slammed into Vegeta at full force with the center of his forehead. Vegeta crossed his arms to absorb the impact, but Goku's momentum was so great it carried the pair across the globe 5 times over. The prince released an asymmetric gust of ki that pushed Goku back to the safe distance above the arena. As he came to a halt, Goku chuckled, his breathing still steady and relaxed, keeping his guard at the ready. Vegeta too appeared completely at ease.
Wow, Vegeta, you've really gotten a lot stronger after all these years.
Don't patronize me. I'm well aware you're holding back. You used a different technique to surpass me when we first battled.
I kinda wanted to enjoy this fight some more, but fine.
Goku immediately got into a crouch stance and began charging his energy. Suddenly, a burst of red fire erupted around his body, and the tiles beneath the arena splintered and cracked.
Kaioken!
Vegeta had appeared right in front of Goku, but was too slow. A devastating elbow impacted against his jaw, the Crimson Saiyan shooting off like a rocket and knocking Vegeta into the arena, shattering what was left. Before Vegeta's back could hit the ground, however, the prince shot out his arm to stop his fall, and then charged towards Goku once more, his fist coated in aura.
The timing needs to be perfect. I won't fail again!
The martial artist smiled as Vegeta charged towards him, but knew that if he turned it up a notch, this fight would be over. Still, Vegeta had definitely improved, and Goku hoped that he wouldn't take this loss too badly.
Kaioken times...
Vegeta had closed the gap between them instantly, and his fist was lodged into Goku's stomach. The Saiyan fell back and out of the arena. Ring out? Goku lost?
I can't be beaten by the same trick twice, Kakarot. You need just an instant of concentration when using that technique to ensure your body doesn't destroy itself. Knowing to wait for that gave me plenty of time to strike.
Goku clutched his stomach in pain, but then flipped over and wiped himself off. He went to congratulate Vegeta, disappointed at the loss, but happy to see that the prince used his head and the tournament rules. However, instead of looking satisfied, Vegeta seemed even angrier than before.
Our battle isn't done! I don't care about these tournament rules. I won't be satisfied until I beat you at your best, with no excuses!
Well, that's a relief. I was thinking the same thing.
Goku and Vegeta knew that with the state of the tournament now, there was no challenges left, except for one another. They had made their point, but it was time to truly settle things. The Saiyans flew off to the sky, heading for a familiar battleground. Gohan watched as they flew off, a little relieved that he didn't have to fight them, but curious as to what the real power they were hiding was. Energized by the display of power and no longer wanting to stick around for her father's inevitable victory, Videl suggested leaving as well to train, questioning Gohan on if he could do all those crazy things too. Gohan agreed, and the two headed off together with a new sense of purpose. Piccolo, Shin, and Kibito had tracked down Yamu and waited patiently for Babidi to reveal himself. Once the wizard emerged, Shin took note that he was joined by Dabura, the Demon King. This would make things a lot harder. Shin and the others watched as Yamu was killed right before their eyes.
Sir Babidi, looks like we have visitors.
They don't have quite enough power to revive Majin Buu. Don't get your hands dirty, Dabura. Let Pui handle it.
Shin and Kibito's eyes widened as the alien zoomed towards them, throwing punches and kicks. Piccolo took off his cloak, throwing it over Pui's face, while he appeared behind Pui with a
Time to die! Light grenade!
It wasn't quite enough to defeat him, but it did hurt him, and Dabura and Babidi were perplexed as the Demon King cocked an eyebrow. Perhaps they were stronger than they first thought. He would have to take care of them. Kibito and Shin came in with a double punch, but Dabura came rushing their way. Thinking quickly, Piccolo grabbed onto Pui, using him as a body shield, causing Dabura to stab him through the chest. The three of them instantly blasted at the beings. As the smoke from the blast cleared, it was obvious that while Pui was dead, Dabura stood tall. Before Piccolo could comment, the trio were caught off guard by Dabura, who appeared before them in a flash. A single blast ended the life of Kibito, leaving the remaining two heroes to look on in horror as Dabura unleashed his blade.
The energy on display here won't be enough to revive Majin Buu, but it should give me some entertainment.
Damn it, Vegeta. I hope your fight is worth the fate of the world.
For Vegeta, it was. Two Super Saiyans exchanged blows above the familiar rock formation, echoing their past conflicts, except this time, the edge and power was found in Goku. Vegeta refused to accept it, and continued to push further and further, but every time he did, Goku matched it. Goku smiled, knowing Vegeta was beginning to falter, and decided to really kick it up a notch, erupting into Super Saiyan 2, but the prince wouldn't back down, clenching his fist, and unleashing a torrent of electricity from his body. He too had achieved that next level.
Not bad, Vegeta. You might even be stronger than Gohan was against Cell.
Might? I will suffer your insults no longer. We end this now, Kakarot. This is our fate, our battle.
Fists were being thrown into flurries. Kicks were chained together in devastating impact. It was hard to imagine how the pair's stamina could endure for so long, but neither showed any signs of slowing down. Their sheer willpower and resolution prevented them from letting up even for a second. Each one of them, for their respective reasonings, had something to prove. For the elder of the two, it was truly to settle the score between himself and the anomalous low class. For the low class in question, it was nothing a good fight with the most powerful warrior he knew, one he could call both an ally and a rival, and with nothing short of determination and raw power, the two streaks of light collided once more in a spectacular blaze, exchanging a rapid flurry of fists and kicks in an attempt to overpower the other. Both growled ferally as their auras, jacked with electrical sparks of raw energy, expanded to compass them in a shimmering golden flame of power. Vegeta began to throw energy blasts wildly, each one chasing his opponent across the starscape as he dodged. Goku was as nimble as ever, vanishing and reappearing before a single one could make contact. The Saiyan was beginning to realize that he couldn't risk physical encounters with the martial artist anymore. He would have to keep his distance if he wanted to outlast his foe. Goku was getting closer, making his way through the energy barrier bit by bit, and soon he'd be able to break through.
Your technique ain't gonna work on me!
The sudden insult was accompanied by the single hardest knee to the gut the prince had ever received. And Goku had used instant transmission to appear directly in front of Vegeta, leaving him wide open and repaying the blow Goku had received at the tournament. Despite it being the first time he had faced it in battle, Vegeta was already sick to death of that Yardrian technique. In canon, Goku had achieved a massive advantage in power over Vegeta, which is partly what caused the prince to return to Babidi and try to catch up. Without that, even in their base forms, Goku would be able to defeat Vegeta comfortably. But Goku tends to suppress himself a lot, to make things more fun, something Vegeta despises. Back in the ring, it was time for the finals. On one side stood the champion Mr. Satan, smiling with glee. He had managed it, against all odds, despite needing to bribe 18, and for basically every threat to flee before he faced them, Satan had actually managed to end up in the finals against an opponent he could actually beat, or so the fraud thought. On the other side, it was Krillin, who was also feeling incredibly lucky. Against all odds, despite needing Satan to bribe his wife and basically every threat to flee, he noticed that Satan was probably thinking the exact same thing as him. And that embarrassed the martial artist a little, but only a little, as this was his time to shine. He had taken part in these tournaments ever since he was a little kid. They had been some of the most important days of his life, and one time, his death. To be the champion was something he never thought he'd get a chance at, and even though defeating a joke like Satan would be beneath him, just holding the title for a little while was a once-in-a-lifetime chance for the turtle school pupil.
Krillin, the strongest under the heavens. Heh, a guy can dream, right?
As the match began, and Satan unleashed a flurry of blows, Krillin weaved between them all and looked towards his wife. Unfortunately for his martial arts pride, he did have a family to support, and the chance to weasel the champion for 100 times the prize money would mean a lot more to 18 than just the title. Krillin let a blow hit him, and then grabbed Satan's hand, flying up to the sky as the champion's eyes widened in horror.
Oh crap, you're one of them! Please don't kill me. I'm sorry, I have a daughter. I can pay you.
Yes, that's right, you fool. I'll end your pathetic life right here unless you give me 100 times the prize money, or else you'll face the combined wrath of Emperor Krillin and his evil lady wife, 18.
That chick is your wife? Oh, no. All right, I'll pay.
Krillin had used every ounce of his power in his body to stop himself from laughing. With the deal agreed upon, it was time for the final show. Krillin let Satan hold him by the neck as he flew himself down to the arena, smashing what little of it remained after Goku and Vegeta's battle, and bringing himself out. The small warrior did take a little joy in the fact that the impact from such a sudden fall had to have hurt the champion pretty badly on the way down. The shaky-legged Satan gave his victory speech as the true winner went back into the arms of his family. Roshi, in the stands, took note of how much 18 was kissing Krillin for this display and knew that he had truly been surpassed by his pupil. As one Satan claimed victory, two other demons were in the heat of battle. Piccolo was completely outmatched by Dabura, but the Namekian had a key ally keeping him in the fight, alongside his own battle tactics. Still, Dabura's power advantage was too much to keep going for much longer, especially as Piccolo could tell his foe was holding back. Heavily injured, Piccolo and Shin turned to each other. They would die here if they didn't come up with something fast.
It's all or nothing.
The Namekian fired an energy blast that covered the battleground in smoke, allowing him and Shin a moment to split up under cover. Piccolo then lunged himself forward and tried to swap Dabura in the neck with a powerful chop. But the Demon King had grown tired of the battle, no longer gaining much from bullying the Kai and his pet. With a single turn of his head, he spat at Piccolo's arm, which then suddenly turned to stone. Piccolo didn't have much time to react, so he ripped his arm off in an attempt to save the rest of his body. But as he did, Dabura appeared behind him and with a single slash, cut Piccolo down the middle.
How pathetic! A weakling Namekian thinking he could face the Demon King.
As Dabura gloated, he felt something strange. His body was sluggish, slow. Had he exhausted more energy than he realized? He tried to raise his hand, but he couldn't. Fury rose in the demon's face as he realized that he was paralyzed. Dabura saw the Supreme Kai straining with all his might, instantly putting together that Shin must be binding his movement. Luckily, Dabura thought that he had killed the Namekian before being trapped in this technique, or else he'd be an easy target. Piccolo, now! Dabura and Babidi's eyes widened in horror as a gigantic amount of power emerged from the earlier smoke cloud. It was Piccolo, alive and focusing all of his ki into his fingertips. The body Dabura had cut open faded away, revealing itself to be a multiform double, normally only useful for training, but in this situation could be the key to victory.
Your title belongs to the dead. Special Beam Cannon!
The sky turned black, the clouds parted, and Dabura felt a piercing spiral of power tear through his stomach and shoot into the darkness of space. A silence filled the battleground, and the sky returned to a familiar blue. Piccolo collapsed to his knees and smiled at Shin, who had been doing the same. A 1 in a million shot that would have saved Earth.
How dare you?
The attack would have been fatal had Babidi not interfered at the last second with a barrier, allowing Dabura the time he needed to shift his body as much as he could to survive. There was still a massive wound in Dabura's stomach, but he had enough strength left to keep fighting, fueled by pain and anger. He backhanded Piccolo, and using his other hand to clutch his wound, blasted Shin to the side with a quick energy blast. The two heroes were completely drained, and even though their foe was on the brink of death, the battle seemed to be truly lost.
I'm not done, Kakarot! I can feel you holding back. If you don't hit me with everything you've got right now, I'll blow this entire planet to pieces!
Hey, calm down! You don't mean that, Vegeta. Come on, I can't go all out. It'll take up all my time on Earth.
Goku?
Dabura, Babidi, Shin, and Piccolo all turned to the two electrified warriors that had crashed onto their battlefield. Vegeta and Goku's battle had continued to worsen for Vegeta. The gap in strength as Super Saiyan 2 was apparent, and despite how much Vegeta tried, he just couldn't keep up with a martial artist. Still, if it had only been that, he could have lived with it. He could train more, and eventually surpass this level. The real insult was during the conflict. With every punch they exchanged, Vegeta could sense Goku holding back a far higher level of power, something beyond an ascended Super Saiyan. This fact had sent Vegeta over the edge, as Goku refused to unleash that power. Their battle had grown so intense that it sent both of them flying across the globe, crashing in multiple spots, eventually stopping here. Goku had sensed a quick shot of power from Piccolo and had been curious about what was going on. Landing where they did might not have been as accidental as Goku let on. Dabura and Babidi were deeply confused, and the wizard started to panic once his energy device eyes picked up on the titanic amounts of Kili that the two blonde newcomers were unleashing. Vegeta recognized the mark on Dabura's forehead and quickly pieced together what was happening. Yet another distraction from his goal. He had been disappointed, humiliated, distracted, pitied, and mocked, all within one day. To say he was furious would have been an understatement. Shin tried to speak up and take advantage of the situation, pointing out the threat posed by Dabura and Babidi to Goku and Vegeta, hoping that if they teamed up, they could seize the upper hand. Vegeta once again was being asked to do something other than what he wanted, to throw away his pride and be someone's lapdog. But at this point, he didn't care anymore. And unfortunately for Babidi and Dabura, they were going to have to pay for all of the Saiyans' frustrations.
Enough! I am done with all of this!
Vegeta appeared in front of Dabura, and the Demon King tried to shoot a wad of spit towards the prince. It was reduced to atoms by the fury of the Super Saiyan 2's aura. Then, with two raised palms, Vegeta sent Dabura back to hell.
Wait, I can grant you power. Your heart is filled with evil.
A tempting offer, but it'd be worthless, wouldn't it, Kakarot?
Vegeta simply flicked his finger at the wizard, and the screaming gremlin's head exploded in a puff of smoke.
Compared to your strength, the evil in my heart just isn't enough. It'll never be enough.
Vegeta walked away, staying within distance of the others, but needing more time to look into the sky and reflect on the day. A few hours passed on by, and the Dragon team celebrated with a Kaioshin. The majority of them had no idea what he was talking about or the danger they had been in, but they were just happy that their last day on Earth with Goku hadn't been interrupted too much. Goten had begun training again with Trunks, with the Elder Saiyan making more of an effort to prove himself still better than Goten. The younger Saiyan was just happy to have a little more respect. Piccolo told Gohan of the day's events, and realized that he had been slacking off more than he thought himself. If he had been a little stronger, he wouldn't have needed so badly to be saved by Goku and Vegeta. Perhaps the Namekian still had room to grow as well, and Gohan would be the perfect person to help him. Gohan wished he could have helped, wondering if perhaps he could have defeated Dabura. Before the young warrior could get too wrapped up in what-if matchups, he was taken aside by his father as he was preparing to leave.
Not the day we expected, huh? You're right there, Dad. I'm sorry if I disappointed you. I did want to fight you, it's just... No, son, I'm sorry. I was really excited to see how much you'd improved, but looking at you now, I got all I needed. I don't understand. When we fought Cell, I really wanted to be the one to beat him. Every time we faced someone stronger than us, I got to push myself further than ever. It's the best feeling in the world. But I knew, after seeing you, that I wasn't going to be enough. I had to accept it and give up.
Gohan looked at his father, seeing a wall between them start to vanish, as the strongest man he'd ever known shared his weakness with him.
It never gets easier, but I'm so glad I did that. Knowing when to throw in the towel is gonna make you the strongest around. Dad, I'm gonna miss you. We'll meet again one day, and then we'll have our real fight, right?
Goku said his goodbyes to everyone, sharing heartfelt moments with Chi-Chi and Goten, even congratulating Krillin on winning the tournament, from a certain point of view. He didn't know what to say to Vegeta, but before the two could exchange final words, they both overheard something. Piccolo had asked the Supreme Kai if Kibito needed to be revived by the Dragon Balls, but Shin informed him that the world of the Kais was in the afterlife. It wouldn't be entirely needed. He'd go back and ask Kibito what he preferred. Hearing this made Goku and Vegeta turn to each other in shock, before settling into a smile of excitement. Perhaps they could be able to settle things properly after all. The stage was set, and the two warriors faced off, but this time, Vegeta knew how it was going to end. It didn't matter, he just needed to feel it, to be respected, and to finally lay his own pride to rest. Goku powered up into Super Saiyan. Vegeta remembered the first time he saw that transformation, how it had been a legend his entire life, until Kakarot made it real. Goku pushed himself further, becoming a Super Saiyan 2. Vegeta felt the same rush of excitement from staring at Gohan, a boy with more power than he'd ever dreamed of. Once again, his views of the world had been shattered. This paradigm shift of things beyond even Super Saiyan. Vegeta readied into his battle stance as Kakarot finally emerged from a longer transformation, coated in power, unleashing the full might of what he called Super Saiyan 3. Vegeta, his own Super Saiyan 2 aura flaring up, smiled. He really was completely outmatched. How Kakarot had gotten this powerful, he had no idea. And that was always his flaw. He had always imagined a limit. But for Saiyans, perhaps there was no limits. The long-haired Saiyan charged at Vegeta, as Vegeta closed his eyes, dropping his arms, smiling and speaking.
I give up. You're better than me, Kakarot.
Goku's fist stopped before reaching Vegeta's face, and turned. No longer a blow against an enemy, it was simply a thumbs up from a lifelong rival. Vegeta couldn't believe that someone so pure existed, but despite it all, he had come to the same conclusion Gohan had. No one else could be like Goku. It was time to give up on that, and focus on becoming the best version of himself, and see beyond just surpassing him. Vegeta gave a thumbs up back.
You are number one.
Goku and Vegeta smiled at each other as the Kaioshin took note of the maturity in Vegeta's answer, and still Shin felt that he owed him a greater debt for saving the world against Majin Buu. Though he sensed the potential for evil in the Saiyan's heart, he also felt a deeper new potential for justice and redemption. Vegeta had given up. Given up on his only goal being defeating Kakarot. Now he had a new role in life, overcoming himself, making himself better. And so, despite their thumbs up, Vegeta and Goku knew that the only way to quench that hunger for battle in their hearts was to keep going until neither of them could anymore.
As these two former enemies clashed, it was not hatred that fueled the battle, merely a desire to be the best.
No, not yet. I can still fight.
Yeah? Me too! There's still time before I have to go back to the other world!
Very well, Kakarot. Let's finish this!
The battle seemed to be without end, just like their burning will to fight. Thus concludes this story of what might have happened in a world without Majin Buu.
As things settled down, Shin invited the Saiyan to the sacred place once more, much to the annoyance of the halo-wearing Kibito, the resting place of the Sea Sword, a weapon of legendary might that perhaps would allow Vegeta to truly unleash his potential. Vegeta smiled at it, looking at his own reflection in the blade, placing one hand on it and saying,
A new path. Interesting.
Fortune is finally on my side. I will go beyond. Far beyond the power of a Super Saiyan!
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. That was my first video written by a geek for fun. He's a good friend of mine and one of the best writers I know, and he's gonna be helping me make some videos for you guys in the future. We have 1 or 2 series planned as a collab, which I think is gonna work out really well. Check out his channel, linked in the description below. I'm working hard on the Dragonball iceberg. I know you guys have been waiting for it, but man, I just keep finding more and more stuff. I think it's gonna end up being more than 2 parts, if I'm being honest. I asked in the last video, which was, what if Gohan went beast early, the finale, but what do you guys think of me making a podcast? I have a lot of thoughts to do with Dragon Ball, so I could get them out in that way. I think it could be fun. I would have guests over and stuff like that, and maybe even discuss other media. I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below, and as always, a thank you to the patrons of the channel. Patreons get access to videos early when available, behind the scenes stuff, and things like that. I'm actually working on reworking the Patreon to make it better for you guys. So if you want to support the channel, then consider becoming a Patreon. Evan Stewart, Dennis Brockman, Lost Saiyan 997, Taxiarchis, Bakatsis, Orange Crimsicle, Sunbloom the Flowergen, Chris Macareno, Yomama 420, Maulik, Daddy, Seaper Samurai, Beastie Man 420, Faisal Ashraf, Ako, Giovanni Jimenez, Zanos, D-Man for Life, Marlon Gonzalez, Blaze 9526, Crazed PlayStation CK, The Main Fin, Free Flow Highway, Speedster 352, Mystic Angel, Shane K, True Lightning Striker, Ghost 1571, Kaiser Jirachi, Trench Rolls, D-Man Place 22, Jim G, Drum Foster, Salil Paranjape, Keith Grimes, Dreadpool, and Samuel Randall. Thank you guys so much for becoming Patreons and supporting the channel. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed, and until we meet again, see ya!